It's because of the mindset, the shift. You have to make up in your mind that I am enough. I am in charge of who I am, and I dictate my purpose and what I can and cannot do. So is that how you decided to leave Honda? Like when we were in high school, that was the dream, right?
Right.
Work for the big three, and then she went into the foreign, working for Honda, but that's not enough because what we've been conditioned to think is this much of who we are and this much of what we're capable of doing. So when you change your mind, you change your possibilities and you change the outcome. Kim, tell us a little bit more about the name, your company, and what you offer. But don't go into too much because I'm gonna leave you to do that.
So, I talked a lot about, separating from corporate, and doing that not only for my family, and I can be very transparent and honest about the level of serving that I do to other people, and I do believe that God has given me the gift to give, and I am a servant. But there's always a struggle with me internally about serving me and doing what I am ideally passionate about, and not so much more of making sure that my family is good. But even though they are good and it is my responsibility to serve them, I also have to make sure that I'm serving myself as well first. And that was hard. That was very, very difficult for me. I don't really know why, but it's just been a huge struggle. But I realized that until that balance is to a level where I'm completely satisfied, then I'm always going to kind of be mentally stressed. The anxiety of things become overwhelming because there's not a core balance in what I really want to do in my life. And so I launched my company is Kimberly C. Jackson and Company, and the basis of that entire thing is to just be my authentic self, to brand myself, to show my passions and where I want to put my energy, and showcasing what I'm doing with my family, and also things that I love to do. I love to travel. I love to eat. I got to give up milk and cheese and all this other stuff. But just taking you on a journey of who I am. And expressing to you how I've been able to do it and be very authentic with the struggles, the mental anxiety that I may have, the times where I want to cry, me feeling inadequate as a parent, even though my kids love me to death and they don't tell me anything differently. But people need to see that, the authenticity of still feeling like you have something more to do or something better that you need to do. I feel like there's not enough authenticity and transparency around struggling as a mom, as a wife, and as a business owner. And through that, it's going to allow me to coach women to do the exact same thing. Identify what is it that you feel is not making you whole. What are the things that you aspire to do? How to show you how to balance life with a husband and with children, and taking that plunge and not letting your 9 to 5 dictate your life.
What would you, and just to reiterate what she's saying, so you were making 6 figures. Jabari was talking earlier about trading hours for money. So since you left Honda, what is the difference in what you're able to bring home now as an entrepreneur?
So I was working on an average of 60 hours a week and traveling at the drop of a dime. I mean, I was traveling, and that's the other thing, you sit down for an interview and then you ask them, what's the percentage of travel? And they'll say 30% travel. Well, it was like 80% travel. More responsibility, more money, but more stress, more time away from your family. So to be able to downsize that as an entrepreneur and work no more than 20 hours and still bring in the same salary is priceless, right? And it's like one of the things that I enjoy so much is I get to wake up every morning, make my children breakfast, put them on the bus, and be right there when they get off. And my job, my work is done. I'm very strategic with my time. My hours are from 8:30 to 2:30. My kids get off the bus at 3 o'clock. Gives me enough time to clean up, debrief, you know, and get my mind right, because I want them to know that I'm present for them when they get home, and nothing else matters.
Okay, Big Red, my office hours are from.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like, so, you know, there's so many different layers to entrepreneurship, because a lot of times you feel like, okay, I got the freedom to do whatever I want to do. You know, there was a video that I watched about a guy who's an entrepreneur, and he said, you know, when he was working for corporate, he got up, he made his bed, he made his coffee, you know, and all these things. So why aren't you doing that as an entrepreneur? Get up and serve yourself just as well, or 10 times better, as you're serving the person that you was going to work for.
Right.
You know, you got to have that same discipline and mindset. You are a business owner. Treat yourself and your business just as good or even better than you did your job that was paying you.
So you just gave me the opportunity to do something I do every day. There's not a conversation I have that I don't mention Jay-Z, but he said I'm a businessman. And then, of course, there was a double meaning. I am a business. We have to look at our Jewish counterparts. They set themselves up as an entity.
Exactly.
And it's, you know, they do a lot of different things, but we have to value ourselves the same way and know that we deserve to take advantage of the American dream, but be strategic about how we're going to do it. But we have this poverty mindset of that'll never happen for us. It wasn't meant for us. We were not designed to be impoverished. It was people always say that that's how you create balance. Everybody, you know, I don't believe that. Well, maybe that's true, but not for me. I'm not about to be that slave. I'm not going to. I didn't give birth to slaves. I didn't give birth to 5 kids for somebody else to enjoy. Those kids were for me. I almost died. You know what I mean? All of us mothers know, especially if you had to have an operation to have your child, you're about to die before that baby comes out. So why put them in why go through that for someone else to enjoy the fruits of your labor?
Right.
So Kimberly C. Jackson and Company, what impression do you want your brand to leave on the public?
Authenticity is the number one thing. Leading from the front, not from the back, and giving yourself permission to be you. You know, and unapologetically, you know, through the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're not intended to be perfect. You're intended to extend yourself grace and extend to the same individuals that you encounter every day.
Say that for the people in the back. We're supposed to extend
You have to extend yourself grace. You're not perfect. We are imperfect beings. We were born into sin. We were born imperfect because God needs you to lean on Him. If we were perfect, we wouldn't need Him. And that's what people don't understand. So the trials and tribulations that you go through, God pierces every single person's heart in this room, because He needs a void to put on every single one of us so that we can only turn to Him. Right. Only He can give us the healing that we need for that pierced wound. We need to understand that.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab a tissue. But I'm going to go ahead and step off, and I want you to go ahead and break down the 3 ways we can work. You tell us more about your company, but also I want you to tell us a little bit more about Kim. Go a little bit deeper about how you got
Where's
here.
the tissues?
I know everybody got one.
No.
I have some in the treatment room, but I think it's real important, like you said, authenticity. We are our own worst critics, but the same grace that we extend to other people, that same understanding that we extend to other people, we have to first give it to ourselves. To really be giving that grace to other people without the hope that, oh, now they'll like me a little bit more.
Right.
You know, and I'm not accusing us of that, but somewhere in the back of our mind, when we're forgiving someone else, we're forgiving ourselves, or in hope that someone else will forgive us. And we don't need to ask anybody for that.
Right.
You know, if you give it to yourself first, you're not doing things out of a need or a void that you're trying to fill in yourself. You're really genuinely giving. And that's where the blessings come back in. That's where you really enjoy being of service, when you've already given yourself the grace that you're trying to give somebody else. But go ahead and tell us more about you, and then we'll keep it moving.
All right. So, I don't even know what else to say.
I know, right? We need to know how you got started, literally. Like what moment, what day did it happen that you was like, you know what, Honda, it's okay.
Yeah, okay, so my kids, I have 2 girls and a boy, 9, 6, and 2. So my son was my last, not my last, because God may bless me with some more. But he is my youngest. And when I went on maternity leave with him, it was right. I'll say it like this. My sponsor at work and my mentor, he was kind of just like, you know, you could tell he was kind of disappointed because it's just like we on this path, and I was the next pick to take his position. And so when I went on maternity leave, obviously that opportunity had to be passed on to someone else. And it was very, very hard to go back to work. And I knew I didn't want to go back to work. And it was really because I knew what that role would require of me. When I look at the senior leadership in my company, they were all males, and they were under pretty much a lot of pressure to hire or fill the C-suite with a more diverse leadership team. And most of them were divorced. Most of them were displaced in Japan for what was supposed to be a 3-year assignment, turned out to be a 5-year assignment. Going from Ohio, which was where our headquarters is at, back down to Alabama, then to South Carolina. I just couldn't see me having to come back home after I had been on the road continuously before then, and having to disappoint the bond and relationship that I had built with my kids, being present with them for 6 months, to say, Mommy's got to go.
Yeah.
And I knew what that meant. Okay, you're going to be gone for 2 weeks here, then you're going to be back home, and you're going to be gone another 2 weeks there. And I saw the joy of my presence at home with my husband and with my kids, and it felt heartbreaking and a disappointment and a disservice to me and what I was pouring into them to go back and basically rob them of their time with me. So I had my son in October, and I took 6 months off. And when I went back, I think it was April of the following year, and I told my husband, I said, I'm gonna give it to the rest of this year, and then I'll be done. And that didn't last. I quit in November. And it was the best decision I could have ever made. Didn't know exactly what I was gonna do. We had started our real estate business, so it wasn't like, you know, we were gonna be strapped for cash or anything like that. But we didn't really manifest it into a brand as we have now. And then I started Beautycounter in October. I wasn't looking for it, but it's resonated with me with the mission. This company also advocates at Capitol Hill. We know that the government is not trying to break the code when it comes to allowing or disallowing manufacturers to disclose the harmful ingredients. There's thousands of them that they don't put on labels, which has been spoken, Angela's talked about earlier. And so to advocate and go to Capitol Hill to make that change is something that no manufacturing company in this beauty industry has ever done before. So that spoke to me. And again, the empowerment, the band of women that this brings together, because we need better, safer options for our own sake and for our own health. So what we put in our body goes into our bloodstream, and those things affect us mentally, emotionally, and physically. So the combination of bringing hope to my children, not having to deal with infertility issues, being able to be more educated and empowered by things I'm learning from events like this. The more education I'm bringing to myself, the more education I'm able to instill in my children and my family and the other people that I encounter. Is really where, you know, I feel like, and when I said earlier that I didn't know what me leaving my job would bring, this is what it's bringing. It's bringing this type of environment, this type of opportunity to collaborate and bring more awareness and make this thing grow to the next level.
So how can we work with you? Talk about those 3 companies. So we have real estate,
Right.
Beautycounter, but then you have a coaching program that you just launched as well.
So very similar to what Jabari has, my husband and I do coach on real estate. We do believe in diversifying your retirement accounts and using real estate as a vehicle. So that's an opportunity that we are offering. And one of the things that we have acknowledged and we want to change the perception of it is you don't have to go broke to be educated. You don't have to spend your life savings when there's people in the room that have already learned it, and God has given us that knowledge, and I don't have to charge you for it. You know, I don't have to break your bank for information that I know could help you become a better parent, become a better life support for your family. So we will be launching something very soon that involves, long as you are on the same mind path of revitalizing communities, we'll teach you how to do it. We just want people to be able to do it and help make your community look better, give opportunities to people in your own backyard, and transition lives in that avenue. The second thing is with the Beautycounter, we can talk about skincare options. We have a very good promotion going on right now. So if you're interested in learning about cleaner skin in a very clean fashion, we can have a consultation centered around that. And then with the coaching program, it will be launching in August, but it's going to be an online course where we're going to dive into the opportunities centered around what is it, identifying really what your purpose and your passion is in life, because that's where you're really going to shine and you're really going to be able to magnify yourself to the next level. So when you're leading with who God has created you to become, it can be a natural transition into an entrepreneur journey. So that coaching program is really shining light on who am I as an individual, what gifts and talents have God given me, and how can I cascade that out and serve the community.
Okay, Miss Kimberly, thank you so much for driving. These folks drove 11 hours from Birmingham, Alabama, and I couldn't be more grateful, or even you couldn't find a luckier person today, because they came. Obviously, Kim feels that she's going to gain from this, and I want everyone to feel that way. I want everyone to network, talk to the person next to you, learn a tool that's going to change the dynamic of your family. But to come and support my vision is real humbling that you guys would do that. I have 3 kids and didn't have to. So speaking of we're going to bring Mr. Jackson, the last crusader in the building, to the front. Joe, come on and have a seat up here. This is Joe Jackson. He's been an entrepreneur for 15 plus years. This is this is the prototype couple, right? They're not baby mama and baby daddies. They're husband and wife and parents of 3 beautiful children. They're entrepreneurs. They're successful at what they do. And it's an example I want a lot of people to see, right? Young girls, everybody wants to get married. Mm-hmm. You spend your whole 20s plan, let's get married, the jacket X on. Right. You know how you put on the aisle. You know how many bridesmaids you're going to have. Your colors, all that.
Destination, honeymoon, all that stuff, right?
And then we get into these marriages and we're like, ew.
Right.
I want you. Why did I do this? So I love the dynamic between the two of them, but that there's hope, right? A lot of people end up in divorce and abandon their marriages prematurely, but this is a living example of the work pays off, right? That commitment to being committed